Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Harachakwadash. Double honors being to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well, and if to us is 100% truth. Much peace and blessings be unto you, hopeful, elect that the not this word of thought, truth, and sincerity. To all you Achim, I do say Shalom. Coming in with a quick video, a spiritual video going into 3 Chariot sightings, if not just 2, separated into 2 isolated events. And the first one happened about almost 2 weeks ago. I mean, I do less than I didn't have the time. Now I am. And, I was stargazing with my telescope, around outside the patio. And, I've been there for like a good 2 hours, if not. And I wanted to end it off by looking at the Pleiades. The Pleiades, for a bit of backdrop, is classified as Messer 45. It's a Messer object. It's been found by Charles Messer back in a few hundred years ago in France as he was, looking for comets. But the Pleiades is also known as the Seven Sisters, and it's a prominent young open star cluster located about 410 to 440 light years away in the constellation Taurus. That's actually pretty heavy already. 410 to 440. That's a 41044. 144. Achim do be making those connections. All right, with the numbers, it's a spiritual number already. 144. But yeah, it's in the constellation Taurus. It's visible to the naked eye. It appears as a small dipper-shaped group of 6-7 bright blue stars, though it contains over 1,000 stars. Right, and I have a star sense telescope, and I was looking at it, and I was like, "Damn, what would really make this sight stand out? If a chariot pulled up." And I was thinking that in my mind, and I was like, "Oh, Babak Shai, hey, my Arkabi, when you're at, pull up Babak Shai, I'd like to see y'all." I kid you not, 15 seconds later of staring into the freaking eyepiece, a freaking bright star moves from the left to the right. And instantaneously, I perceived that was a chariot of Yahweh Ba'ashim was shy. How about that? Achim? What's it called? And you notice how you start to see more chariots now? Nowadays, more so than ever, right? You got the statistics, on the map, and it shows you how there are more chariot sightings in what's it called? America, Babylon the Great, which obviously is a fulfillment of, what's it called? Prophecy time back to, look with Shepherd with me. That the priests are going to, the eyes of the Lord upon the sinful kingdom. That was Amos 9:8. It reads, "Behold, the eyes of the Lord, power, Yahweh Ba'ashim will shine upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy from out the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord." Which we know the eyes are pertaining to, the angels. They see everything. Right, that was reporting back. Right? So that's going into, and a chariot is an angel. So the other Apostle Gabar, wants to emphasize the surrealism of it. He made the mention now as a chariot housing. There are angels within an angel, because if a chariot's an angel and it's a moving vehicle housing other angels, that's gonna be surreal, man. That is surreal. Well, anyways, what's it called? They're sent forth from the Lord, man. If anything, that was the Lord hearing me, dude. I'm gonna pull out a quick preset. This is the book of Shepherd with me. It's in the Psalms. Hey, what's it called? Psalms 66. A quick precept. Verse 9. What's it called? Yeah, verily, Yahweh Bash Yahushua hath heard me. He hath attended to the voice of my prayer. Blessed be power which hath not turned away my prayer, nor his mercy from me. You know, which, what's it called? Time back, the scriptures did make the mention how it doth make the mention how the Most High heareth, what's it called? Not sinners. You know. Hey, so whenever, what's it called? You got Jake out here claiming the religious, really they're being religious. They be out here sending their prayers. To them, it's just a little comfort. But does anything ever come to fruition? Does anything ever happen? No. Right? Nothing ever happens to them. You know, so that's where all that, what's it called, compound data, compound empirical data, it makes it seem as prayer is, what's it called, fake. It's just a tactic used. Esau in his anthropology courses, he be talking about how religion was man-made structure, a construct for what's it called, a comfort, and what happens after death, which what's it called? We know all those other religions are false, but this one, right? But this one, the religion means servitude as much as it means a belief system. Right. And, hey, why do you think there, more Israelites have been waking up, what's it called, in the past, 10 years, what's it called, all over the place. Hey, what's it called, starting off the bat, Christianity is the number one religion on the earth, right? But that's my Christianity. It's all been defiled and tainted with all these other heresies, right? There's a whole history on it, like the Great Schism, right? Council, Nicaea, so on and so forth. Hey, but what's it called? The one that's been taking over the world now has been that so-called Hebrew Israelite movement, the Esau be Black Hebrew Israelite movement. Esau be rambling about, though. What's it called? Northern Kingdom, the speckled birds. They be looking like Jake is really of diverse colors. The speckled birds looking like the heathen. Northern Kingdom pale as hell. I'm pale as hell. I turn orange and red. I turn red. A lack of melanin. Sure, I could tan, dude. I turn orange. What's it called? In a certain temperature. I was at the clinic the other day. My hands were orange as hell, dude. Black Hebrew Israelites, dude. Black is a freaking color. Ain't no freaking pigmentation, dude. It's really brown. It shades of brown. Or again, you got Jake looking like the heathen, which we know it's a bloodline, a spiritual line, right? You go your spirit is what your father is, right? You going back to up the what's it called, genealogy, right? Which obviously we got no records to be able to confirm exactly. Hey, but the scriptures make the mention. And our spirit beareth witness with the spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, right? And also, I can make this proclamation time and time again. The only people out there prophesying and calling upon the names of Yahweh Shemel Shai are the Israelites. Ain't no Edomite doing that. If it's the Edomite, it's a freaking Israelite. Just an Edomite looking person. That's really an Israelite. And you got videos that they're talking about, does GMS allow white people in their congregations? And it's a clip about what's it called? A light skinned Jake. It's a clip about an Israelite looking like the heathen. And it's not making the mention it's an actual heathen, right? We already been through this boat. What's it called? I lost my train of thought. Talking back to the point. What's it called? We know, what's it called? This truth is real religion, right? You got Jake all over the place. Hey, prophecy, that's part of prophecy too. Time after Matthew makes a mention how, this gospel shall be preached throughout the four corners of the world. I'll pull that out. Matthew 24:14, in this gospel of the kingdom, right now, first and foremost, or not first and foremost, off the bat, rather, yeah, right. Gospel, that term gospel means good news or tidings, and it's the gospel of the kingdom. What gospel of the kingdom? What good news of the kingdom? The kingdom promised to the Israelites, an eternal kingdom, right? Hey, talking about the Daniel, the 7th chapter, does make the mention how it shall never cease to exist. Hey, because the average life expectancy of a kingdom, and the men of the Lord, starting off at great, excuse me, Salakia. What's it called? Starting out from the apostles and elders at Great Millstone, on down to the associated, affiliated, like-minded camps, right? What's it called? Apostles and elders at Great Millstone, and those on down to the affiliated camps, like-minded brothers. Right? What's it called? They all make the mention. So that's my train of thought again. What's it talking about again? I'm not supposed to go to Daniel, right? That's the priest that I was supposed to pull up. Yeah, they be talking about how I forget what I was gonna say, but hey, there's an eternal kingdom waiting for us, right? Daniel. Oh yeah. Wait. Yeah. Come on. What's it called? It was starting off with those men that we talking about. Well, the average expectancy, of a kingdom is 250 years. They're the ones, proclaiming that out in the media. I mean, obviously, your scholars are the ones that came up with that estimation on 250 years. But it started out with the men of the Lord. What's it called? That been teaching that. And after 250 years, all hell breaks loose. And now you're starting to see people wake up. You go on freaking TikTok, even Instagram. Instagram has been played with freaking memes. Memes. What's it called? Brain rot shit. And now all of a sudden, it's all, what's it called? It's all political now. Right? And you got people out there making the mention now. Oh yeah, what's it called? America's about to reach this 250 year. This way it's going on in the dream. Well, we've been telling y'all that. And then you got on the comment boards, you got people talking about Americans are finally starting to wake up. Mofo, you woke up, what's it called? After the fact, Jake has been out there prophesying that all hell is going to break loose. What's it called? Hey, in my I think it was in my first semester for college, 3 semesters ago. You had I think it was my. No, yeah, it was in, because I take, so it was a U.S. History 1 class or a World History 1 class. I think it was U.S. History 1, I presume, but it was in the morning before class. I always get there early. It was to call you out that saying in the world, on time, no, it's like early is on time, on time is late don't even show up. Now, obviously, it's a school, what's it called, it's not like a work, it's not like a job, where you actually gotta, show up on time. You're in college, you were like 10, 15 minutes late, 30 minutes late. You got people, pulling up at the end of class. All they gotta do is sign a name on the roster. They're good. After all, they're the ones paying for it. But I like to learn, the lectures and whatnot. And it's needed my history professor. Hey, but since the first day I saw him, my first semester of college, I was like, yeah. I perceive that the Lord chose us as the Edomite. Hey, because sometimes the Lord be using Edomites to call, hey, tell the truth. That look at Charles Wiseman with that book, Who is Esau Edom? That book, Who is Esau Edom? The Lord used, that Edomite. He was a so-called white nationalist, though. So what's going on, but he has some good points. Right? Same aspect. I perceive that the Lord was, selected him to teach me. Though he did have his errors, right? Which obviously, as the apostles and others like Great Muslim always emphasize, you gotta have that spirit of discernment, right? Separating the bones from the meat. You don't want to believe everything wholeheartedly. Take, especially for me, you might take things with a grain of salt, right? But he spoke a lot of truth. I'll admit that. But time back to the what I wanted to refer to. It was before class one day, and it was me sitting down, getting ready, my notes ready, my laptop on, right, pen, pencil, paper, and you have the professor, because I sit in the front of class, like right in front of the professor's desk, right? What's it called? Hey, that's the intimacy. You learn more when you're up in front, when you're up front. That's a common acknowledgement in the world. Smart kids, go up in front. So, anyways, the professor's, he's getting his stuff ready on the computer, and then there is a Edomite vet who, he moved out of state. What's it called? But he was a history major just like me, right? And before class, he was talking about, it's a shame people don't realize that America does have an expiration date. So if Esau's history scholars admit to America having an end as any other kingdom, it shouldn't be, what's it called, a terrible thing. I mean, it's a terrible thing for this place. But it really shouldn't be, labeling us as, whatever Esau wants to demonize us as, extremism bullshit. It's just basic fact, right? And we're just here to, bring about a message. But even they made the mention how, it's going to circle down the drain soon, and they saw it, right? But anyways, time at the Daniel the 7th chapter, verse 27, the kingdom that we're talking about, the kingdom of the Israelites, it will never cease. 250 years. So now the scriptures talk about Revelation 20, 1,000 years. 1,000 years of rulership, dude. And even after the fact, we're still going to be ruling because 1,000 years only pertain, what's it called? From what I've been taught, what's it called? Hardcore bondage. Esau's gonna get burned up. What's it called? After those 1K years, he's then gonna go back to the lands, and then Israel's still gonna be ruling. Time after Isaiah the second chapter. Time out the second chapter. I'll pull it out. Verse 3. Many people shall go and say, "Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and he will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." Right. And time after Psalms 147, the law only came from the Lord. Right? The law only came from the Lord. So they're gonna, say to the Israelites, and ultimately, first and foremost, our Lord power, Yahweh Basham Shai for that law. Okay, now my thing is acting up. Okay, got it. Verse 4, and he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people when they shall beat their swords and the plowshares and their spears and the pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Right, and there's no other, prophecy after that. It's just, the eternal servitude from the heathen to the Israelite people. Time after Isaiah 55, I believe it was, and kings and nobles, they shall serve us. And that's the hierarchy. Anyways, I tie back to Daniel the 7th chapter. Verse 27, it doth read, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him, dude. I'm going to speak it now in the RVR, the Reina Valera 60, right? It reads, y que el reino y el dominio y la majestad de los reinos debajo de todo el cielo sea dado al pueblo de los santos del Altísimo. Now we know santo, saint, and sanctified. Those are the Israelites. Eso es uno de nuestros títulos. Y el Altísimo es la traducción española para decir the Most High. El Espíritu más altísimo en todo el universo, en toda la existencia. Aquí dice, se ha dado al pueblo de los santos del Altísimo, cuyo reino es reino eterno, y todos los dominios le servirán y obedecerán. Okay, I'm going to pull out that word, dominion, and it goes back to the Hebrew word, shaltan, if I'm mistaken, shaltan. Shaltan. Root word etymology from Strong's H 7981. No, it's not Shaltan. It's Shalta. Right. We got Shalta. Shalta, biblical usage. To have power, rule, domineer, rule over, have power upon. Now, going back to Shaltan, dominion, sovereignty, realm. Right, we're gonna rule over the realms. We're gonna rule over the nations, dude. So yeah, that's talking about an eternal kingdom for the nation of Israel. So time after Matthew the 24th chapter, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom, the good tidings of the kingdom of Israel shall be preached. Preached means to prophesy. So it shall be prophesied beforehand, before it ever happens, it will be prophesied in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And time back to what's it called? Isaiah, I believe it was the 34th chapter. Yeah, come near ye nations to hear and hearken. Ye people, let the earth hear and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. Right? I'll tell you what's going to come to pass. And Isaiah 34 goes on to talk about the ICBM destruction. But it's the ICBM destruction that births the kingdoms, because it's a removal of these other, polities. Removal of all these other polities in order to establish the kingdom of Israel ruled by Yahweh Shai and then the great men on down. Else Revelation, the 19th chapter, would say something completely different. But because it doth not, it is only there to insinuate he will come here to the fire's going to be established. And not only the ICBM fire, but also the chariot fire, the chariot lasers. They're going to be used, as a supplement to subdue. Right? Revelation 19, 15, actually verse 14, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, which we know that ain't talking about no little freaking white horses. Now, I made a mention in the last lesson, what's it called? That Pegasus that's been wrapped about in, various mythologies and fantasies. That could be, a hint at one of the Lord's creations on a different planet. Because the Lord's thoughts are higher than us. He's the most high power. You can think about anything and everything, dude. He's the only one that can multitask, and he can't even fathom, dude. We can't even fathom in this mortal mind, But we believe obviously different planets, different species. The scriptures make the mention. There are things. What's it called? There are things hidden. What's it called? No eye, nor ear hath seen or heard the things that the Lord hath prepared for them. And we have only seen a few of his works. Right? We have only seen a few of the Lord's works. Ecclesiasticus, aka Sirach 43 and 32. I'll pull it out. Okay. There are yet greater things than these be, for we have seen but a few of his works. For the Lord hath made all things, and to the godly hath he given wisdom. Right? One of those creations could be a Pegasus, dude. There could be Pegasuses flying across the sky on a different planet, dude. And they're white. A white freaking Pegasus, dude. Diverse colors. It could be a freaking rainbow Pegasus. I don't know. But just know that in Revelation 19 and 14, ain't talking about a little white horse. White horse cannot fly. They're land creatures. They're land beasts. In this case, the white horse being referenced, the one mentioned, understanding the context, it's pertaining to a chariot. You got that term horsepower to refer to your moving vehicles, right? Your cars, your hot rods and whatnot. The lingo goes, you can refer to those as chariots. They're moving vehicles. Marakabium. All right, what's it called? So that, it's talking about a moving vehicle, and it's white. White means pure. A pure vehicle, what's it called? Righteous, holy vehicle. It's a freaking chariot. That's a chariot, dude. Anyways, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it should smite the nations. And he shall, what's it called? We're talking about them chariot leaders, dude. You seen that Independence Day? I was watching Independence Day last night before going to sleep. This we're just going into how, I believe it was in Proverbs, made the mention how, the righteous, roughly paraphrase, his sleep shall be sweet, right? I slept good last night, I had a terrible nightmare. I slept good last night about, while Independence Day played, I knocked out. I dozed off. Anyways, and smite the nations, and he shall rule them with the rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of Almighty power. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he said, what's it called? Slovakia. Did I recover that verse? Oh, Slovakia, I'm going to jump up. Verse 11. All right, verse 11. Verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, the white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True in righteousness. He doth judge and make war. Right? He doth judge and make war. Also another crown I want to pull. There's also another piece that I want to pull out. Revelation. No, same verse will lock it. His eyes were as a flame of fire, or verse 12, same chapter, verse 12. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written thereon that no man knew but he himself. Or what's it called? Crowns. You're gonna take y'all crowns. The stats rulership. Hey, because after the establishment of the kingdom, you got Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, and the Israelites, pulling back up on the land. Hey, ain't no heathen polity, stand for anything. Hey, the day of the Lord is a day of everything being abased, and the Lord only being exalted. Is that not so? Is that not so? Hey, Isaiah 2:11, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled. That starts off with Esau, the proud one. He's proud as hell, dude. You talking about, I'm going to be like the Most High. Motherfucker, you ain't the Most High. You'll never be the Most High. And you want to get that Godship, ain't going to happen. That's going to be given to the Israelites. We talking about spiritual power. Hey, Esau, you have to earn. You never earned your way. You have to try and make it, but it's all going to come to naught. It's not going to come to fruition. It's going to come to naught. So you can keep on trying to get your way with this agenda you got planned. Ain't going to happen, Jack. It ain't going to happen, no Jack Shy. No, what's it called? We know prophecy. Isaiah 55:11. I think that which is, it's like the thing. It's like roughly paraphrase. My word shall not return to me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. And that's how I was speaking. So if he said Israel's gonna get that spiritual power, let's believe it, dude. Lifting up that standard. And it's gonna be, by way of Esau trying to achieve his way, his agenda, getting down on the prophets and that persecution, that spiritual power may turn up. Right? What's it called? Isaiah 59:19. The Lord shall lift up a standard against them. Standard means to flee. Hey, how do you flee out of the hand of the wicked? Giving that spiritual power and the wicked being delivered into your hand. In the scriptures, when you read about being delivered into someone's hands, that means you're going to be defeated. But if they're given into your hands, my hands, for example, they're going to be defeated, and I will win. I will reign victorious. So really to flee out of the hand of the wicked. But anyways, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of man shall be bowed down, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. Exactly. Mother flipping, exactly, dude. And the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down. Esau's gonna know on that day, dude. Hey, so we talk about how we shall not meet thee as a man. Dude, you're cooked. You're literally cooked. Anyways, what was the priest supposed to pull up? Matthew 24. Yeah, well, we know what's it called. The gospel, the kingdom has been preached out the four corners. And what's it called? That fulfills prophecy. That's your empirical data on how the scriptures is legit. They're the true religion, dude. Hey, so coming back to my main point. Time back to my main point. The Lord hears, his people. Israelites, man. And Lord willing, they're the elect, dude. He listens to his elect. Hey, so did I ever pull out that one piece of going to? Yeah, I think I did. The Most High hears me. Hey, and I believe it, because I saw that chariot, the Pleiades, and while looking at the Pleiades constellation, and dude, that shook me up, dude. By the time at the main point, because a few years ago, or not a few years ago, more like almost like 5 years ago, I would always stargaze trying to look for the so-called UFOs. I ain't see jack shit. Every night I'd go out in the freezing cold trying to look up at the stars. I'd never see a thing. But all of a sudden, chariots popping out left and right, dude. I've been calling up on them. They've been pulling up. How about that? Well, that's a freaking sign, dude. That's a freaking sign. Right? That's a sign, dude. Reminds me of Romans the 13th chapter. I could pull it out. 13:11, and that knowing the time that now it is high time to wake out of sleep, for now the salvation nearer than we believed. Exactly, exactly, dude. Exactly. You can't make it up, G. You can't make it up, Achim. You can't make it up, E. You can't make it up, heathen. You can't make it up, humans. Oh, humans. No, what's it called? Chariot's pulling up more and more. Because we at the end of this biatch. Hey, for Esau's the end of the world, dude. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Is the beginning of it that followeth. How about that? So anyways, that's a wrap on that first isolated incident with the chariot pulling off the Pleiades. And I think this happened a week after the other lesson I did about the chariot that pulled up after, it was what's it called, jokingly talking about, hey, the chariots pulled up, he forgot me, hey, he forgot Akiron, man. What's it called? So that was the second incident, right? Where, after calling out the chariots, hey, they actually pulled up. Spirit and power, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashman, which always make those prayers too, what's it called? Lord willing, I see a chariot, and you call upon Yahweh Bashman, which calling on those names. But what's it called? Anyways, now for the second isolated event was when I was at school, and it was this past Wednesday. Now, I got 2 classes, one in the morning for my ASL1, and then one in the night from 7 to 9:40 p.m. I leave like around I leave before 10:30 because I had to get picked up, but I didn't want to go to class that day. I was just lazy. I was like, hell nah. I still went, obviously, because I can't miss. And it turned out to be a good day. It was a clear sky. If it wasn't a clear sky, we would have just been doing some lousy physics, equations. Not a fan of it. But it was a clear night. We went out. We used the high-end, expensive celestial telescopes, 10 inches, right? 10 inches. They're free range. I presume they go for like $800, if not a little over $1,000. I was the one carrying the team because I know how to use the telescopes. So I switched it from 25 millimeter to 10 millimeter. Blah blah. The point is, we were looking at celestial objects. Well, nearing the end of class, the professor starts, talking to us about the constellations. He was like, "Yeah, guys, have any questions on whatever constellation?" And I think I asked him a question. I think I asked him about Taurus or something. I thought probably Monoceros. I don't remember. One of those constellations. Anyways, he starts talking about the Pleiades. It was a star cluster, right? And one of our objectives for that class was to look for, a 2-star cluster, double star cluster, or more. And he has a green laser, and the class is looking up at where he's pointing, and he's talking about the Pleiades. Well, I do not know how. Actually, I do know how they didn't see it because it's in the scriptures. But I was the only one that saw a chariot, dude. I have what you are looking at is a video. Obviously, the camera was so bad you couldn't see it. You couldn't make it up. But you see something. You see something move. That was a chariot, And my first initial thoughts was, it's a bird. No, it's a plane. No, it's a chariot, dude. No. It wasn't. It's a bird. It's a satellite. No, it's a chariot, dude. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I thought it was a satellite too. And my first thought was those birds, but then I thought about it. Normally birds, and I never seen a bird at that hour, at that specific place, fly in a flock at night. Let alone at that altitude. At that altitude, you would only see hawks and eagles, and hawks and eagles, they're like solo. They're not like vultures, they're more solo. So they're the only type of birds to go up at that high altitude, and it's just only one of them at a time. But as you see in the image, it didn't look like no freaking single little dot. It looked like multiple. Obviously it's hard to make out, but you make out an object, right? And then I thought it was satellites, but you could tell a satellite is a satellite because it's a faint star. It wasn't as dim as this. And if it was a satellite, satellites are singular. They are not like the Starlink constellation. The Starlink constellation is conjoined, right? And people have mistaken those for chariots. But it was not a satellite constellation. And that's when I perceived it was a chariot. Now, my initial thought was it was a triangle chariot. That was no triangle chariot. Here's an image I'm painting of what it really looked like. It looked like a cursive. It looked like a cursive T. I'm drawing it right now, and then you would just see a photo. Dude, it was crazy. No, I'm gonna do it. That's what it looked like. And it was flying. It was low. The naked eye, it looked pretty low, and no one else saw it. No one else saw it but me. That's also in the scriptures, dude. I'll pull out a quick precept. Second Kings, the 6th chapter, verse 17. Look, Shabba with me. Okay. Actually, I'm going to start at verse 15. And when the servant of the man of power was risen early and gone forth, behold, and was compassed the city both with horses and chariots. And the servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. Hey, what scripture comes to mind? What scripture comes to mother flipping mind, dude? For the chariots are I'll pull it out. Thousands. Psalms 68 and 17. The chariots of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai in the holy place. How about that, dude? How about that? And I think I recall reading the same I believe it was either in the first or second book of Maccabees. It'd be talking about the chariots, dude. It'd be talking about the chariots. And, we know what's it called, the Maccabees during the so-called intertestamental period. What happens before? It happens between OT and NT. Right? Oh, look, 11:44 p.m. a.m. 11:44 a.m. Call log. I'm like, how Bashman was shot the whatever for that sign. Hey, so if the chariots were mentioned in the Old Testament, right? The intertestamental period, and now the New Testament, because we're still in the New Testament. You got the Book of Revelation. Yeah, niggas at the time talking about, oh, we're not in Bible times. But then they're the same mofos. They are the same mofos talking about, oh, we're living in the times of Revelation. No fucking shit, dude. We are in the New Testament right now. All prophecy ain't been fulfilled yet, dude. We're still waiting on it. Hey, Jacob's trouble barely climaxed at this point, dude. Hey, you see it now. We in Jacob's trouble, dude. Hey, but what about the ICBMs? What about the what's it called? The full activation of World War III. Roll out the MOTB. Persecution of the prophets. Women being humbled and abased. So no more hot girl summer. What about all these other things, dude? Civil war. It's barely being brewed up. It's barely being. We're still waiting on a lot of prophecies, dude. But it's soon. Anyways, time back to 2 Kings, the 6th chapter. Verse 16, and he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they be with them. How about that? And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Lord opened the Jake's eyes to see the chariots, dude. Right? And Elisha said unto them, verse 18, and when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, smite the people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. And Elisha said unto him, this is not the way, neither is the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek. But he led them to Samaria. And it came to pass when they were coming to Samaria that Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men, that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. How about that, dude? To see the chariots. Lord could open your eyes to see the chariots. And that's what happened. You open my eyes to see the chariots. No one else saw it. And I kid you not, all right, so this was taken Wednesday at 9:19 p.m. 9:19. I believe it was about 10-15 minutes after that, or just like 10 minutes later, because it was near the end of the class anyways. That's when I saw a bright orb of a low magnitude. Now, think about magnitudes when it comes to lights, is that, or your stars rather yet, which, stars are light, is that high magnitude means that it's fainter, that the light is fainter. Whereas, so it's going to be hard to see unless you have a telescope. Whereas a low magnitude is brighter. So I believe it was Sirius, Sirius near the Orion constellation to the left of it, right? Sirius hits, I believe, in Canis Major constellation. Well, correct me if I'm wrong on that, Hakim. It's, I think it's like a 1.1, 1.2, something like that, magnitude. It's low because it's pretty bright. It's not as bright as Jupiter, though. Jupiter's brighter. At least where I'm from, Southern California. But yeah, it was a low magnitude bright star, looked close to ground, as well as the just like the chariot you saw in the video. Right? What's it called? And it flashed. Now that's the thing. I'm either conflicted whether to be a chariot or a shooting star. But no one else saw it. I asked my classmate, did you see that bright star flash? I was like, oh, no, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. But the whole class, you guys were looking at the sky. You were looking at the sky as it happened. I'm the only one that saw it, dude. Ooh. And I don't think it was a chariot. I don't think it was a shooting star. It looked more like a chariot because they went at a high Mach. It went super duper fast. It happened, within like a millisecond. Whoosh. But if it was a shooting star, that's still a sign. That's still what's it called? Heavy. That's a sign. Genesis 1 and book sharper with me. 14 in power, Eliahim said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, signs, to signs, and for seasons, and for days and years." Yeah, because really, what's it called? Those lights serve as a calendar and a measurement of time. You could use the sun you could create a sundial using the sun as a clock. You could use the sun as a clock, right? Whereas the moon is your yearly calendar, right? You got your months. Hey, that term month goes back to the word moon. So we'll see how you got the lunar calendar. That's the legit calendar. And it goes in cycles of like 29 days or something like that. I forget. So on day one, it's a new moon, and then the last day it's a new moon again, and middle of the month is a full moon, and in between those two markers, you got your things like waning gibbous, early paraphrase. What's it called? And the other one, last quarters, first quarters, things like that. That's your calendar. The sun is your clock, right? And the shooting stars are signs. Your comets. Hey, the Halley comet. I remember the Apostle Tahar was going on to talk about that back in the 80s. Talking about that was a sign of the collapse of this place. And the last time it's been seen was back in the ancient Roman Empire, which is spiritual because if it popped out here, we know this is the extension, revival Roman Empire. Fulfillment it's a sign for the future fulfillment of prophecy of this plane being smote down. So if it was a shooting star, it looked like it, but I doubt it. I mostly saw a chariot. I believe it was a chariot. But if it wasn't a chariot, it's a shooting star. And either way, it's still heavy. But if it was a chariot, dude, that is Yapa. That is Yapa, dude. The chariots, dude. The chariots. Boy, a quick preset. Uncle Shepard with me. All right. This is the book of... Dude, I'm trying to think about what precept they pull out in the chariots, dude. So many of them. I'm conflicted. I'm about to ask GPT to freaking pull out some precepts in the chariots, dude, because... Damn, I can't even think of which one to pull out. Okay. A quick precept I'm ended off on. It's giving me my answer right now. All right. Bingo. The book of Jeremiah. Okay. Let me pull it out. Jeremiah 31:8. Okay. Jeremiah 31:8. Verse 7, 31 and 7. Verse 7, I'll start verse 7. For thus saith the Lord, sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of nations. Publish ye, praise ye, and say, Oh Lord, take that people, the remnant of Israel, right? Because they're going to deliver the elect. And time out to Matthew, the 24th chapter, if I'm mistaken, makes mention how the angels shall go to the four corners of the deliverers elect. Right? But anyways, verse 8. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, which obviously back in the ancient world geographically referred to ancient Babylon. But America is known as modern day Babylon. Right? Mr. Babylon the Great, and going back to the 2016 campaign, Make America Great Again. Right? So, America's Babylon, North Country. You could also make the connection. North America. We are in North America. So, behold, I will bring them from North America, the North Country, and gather them from the coasts of the earth. And with them the blind and the lame, the woman with the child in there that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither. Right, they shall come with weeping and with supplications will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers and waters in the straight way wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Right, what was it called? Hear the word of the Lord, O you nations, and declare it. And I was afar off and say, He that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd doth his flock. For the Lord hath redeemed Jacob and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. And who was stronger than us? The heathen starting with Esau, because he's given the power. Anytime what's it called? Is it the 5th chapter? What's it called? O thou Syrian, thou the rod of my hand. Right? What's it called? Assyrian in this case, referring to Esau. He could be applied. You could apply Assyrian to him, dude, because he is what's it called? Esau's. It's like Esau is the Lord's rod. He be out here what's it called, committing judgment through him, because it is in his power to do so. Right, time back to Genesis 25 or 27, 27 I think it was. One to his blessing shall be the fatness of the earth, and what's it called? He shall live by the sword, going through the guns. That's where you got all these, what's it called, policies, where Esau is starting to crack down hard on so-called extremists. And, going back to the protests, which, we ain't going to go to no protests. Leave that to the 2/3 and the heathen, dude. Leave that to the civilians, and to stir up all that turmoil and chaos, prophecy. But Esau did get the go ahead to during protests. They're gonna start gunning down civilians and whatnot. Right, but that's Esau. He's stronger than us right now. The scriptures talk about a troop cometh, so I'm gonna pull it out. He shall a troop. So I'm gonna pull it out really perfect in here. Okay. And this is in the book of Genesis 49. God, a troop shall overcome him, going into Esau, back in colonial America. But he shall overcome at the last, right? We're going to overcome at the end. Because even then, you guys still subdued by him, reservations and whatnot. I took a course on, what's it called? Native American studies, or whatever you call it, so-called Native American studies. And, going to Gad still being afflicted, systematically, by Esau. And, what's it called? It's just a common, understanding, rural U.S. and Canada, they be lynching God. Right? Jake's still getting beat. Hey, but it's only going to get worse with Jacob's trouble, being full fed by now at this point, right? Hey, because we got your concentration camps now, so-called detention centers. We got, what's it called, Northern Kingdom, and anybody speaking against Babylon. Esau and Amalek, starting out with Amalek, what's it called, they'll be taken over there. And that's really going to, switch over to the prophets very soon, right? Persecution coming back up. But, yeah, so he's the one that's stronger than us, but, hey, it's all going to be over soon. That's all I could say. All we could say is it's all going to be over soon, right? But with that being said, this lesson was edifying. Until the next one, I do say shalom.